Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Domestic Boyfriends podcast. My name is Dean. Always is with me my co-host Vincent.
Hello.
We have had a little hiatus. Life is a little crazy, but we are back, and man, we have some news to bring you guys. Before we get into this week's topic, which excitingly is something that me and Vincent have been waiting for, and when we heard the announcement, we were ecstatic about, and we have been enjoying very much uh, Disney Plus exclusive Moon Knight. Um,
Oh,
it's at the end, but we're gonna get through some news beforehand. First, we got some movie news. We're gonna start off really spicy. We're gonna talk about some drama. Um, Recently, there's been a lot of drama from the Flash actor Ezra Miller. A lot of stuff we're not going to get totally into in the pod, just because we're not like gossip or anything like that. But a lot of the things that he has done um, have been things that aren't really appropriate, especially if you are a person who is a public image like he is. Um, and Warner Brothers has already officially made a statement that they're cutting ties with him. What that means for the Flash movie that's about to be released, we're not exactly sure as of right now. Um, but it's definitely something that is not doing the Snyderverse justice. So yeah, what you got some opinions on it?
I'm so sad. I mean, I've not been a big fan of live action DC films for a while. I tend to stay away from them just because they've not had a good track record outside of Batman movies.
Yeah.
Um and I didn't even bother watching the Batman versus Superman buff Batman thing. Um but like this one I was excited for. Uh it seemed like it was going to be good. Ezra Miller uh, is a uh, is a good actor. Um, do you think that they're gonna be like, oh, we're so far in, we have to keep going, but we need to replace the Flash?
Um,
Do you think they're gonna like just they're gonna like make a deal with the CW?
we need Grant
We
Gustin.
need Grant Gustin.
Honestly, they're either gonna
I like
release it.
Grant Gustin as the
They're either gonna
Flash.
release it. I love Grant Gustin as a Flash. He's probably the only. We can get into a whole tangent about the CW stuff later, but um,
Fuck Power Rangers.
I I really like him. But this is honestly a question of what Warner Brothers wants to do in general, because he's also in the new Fantastic Beasts movie.
Oh, that's true. I completely forgot that he's like the main person there too.
Yeah, so he's
Oh
actually
no.
he's whatchamacallit, he's Snape. He's like young Snape, I think. So that's already produced. I think it just got released or is going to be released soon. So it's
Yeah.
whatever Warner Brothers wants to do with that, because if you know, with everything that happened between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, they recast Johnny Depp's character.
What if they just like pixelate his face the entire time he's on screen and then
Honest,
like put like a voice modulator over it?
Honestly, I'm not sure what they're gonna do, because this is a big project, and normally, I feel like Warner Brothers might take the bullet, but I don't think that they're gonna scrap it. If the plot leaks were on Reddit and Twitter a couple weeks ago, and from the leaks, it seems like it's a really good movie, but I don't know if you see, it's such a big thing, and especially since it was supposed to do something with the rest of the Snyderverse, that I don't know if they're gonna scrap it. I feel like that's too much money. Too much money, too much effort, too much Warner Brothers can't sacrifice for something that they've pretty much already blown down the hole themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
With Ezra Miller's departure from the Snyderverse, leaves Gal Gadot and anything Wonder Woman related, and the yet to be released Aquaman 2 and anything to do with Jason Momoa. Which personally, I don't think Aquaman 2 should be made because of everything that happened between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, but that's just personal opinion.
I I think Aquaman 2 should be made. But what I think they should do is just change the plot of
Pixelate
it
her
and have
face.
We could do that, or we could change the plot of it and have Aquaman become like a horrible villain, and just have Amber Heard die like a really gruesome death within the first 5 minutes. So he just goes on a tirade and invades the human world,
Yeah.
completely breaking his character, but like make him go evil, go insane, want to just cause hatred. And then all of a sudden he gets a fucking, you see a red glow appear and a ring appears in front of him. Jason Momoa.
You're going really Blackest
You can
Night.
cause great hatred. Yeah.
You're going some real Blackest Night stuff.
I liked it when Mira got the fucking Red Lantern ring.
Which makes me kind
Blackest
of-
Night, dude. It was so cool.
I loved their relationship because, okay, we can literally, we're gonna talk about Blackest Night one day on the pod, because there's so
Absolutely.
much to it. But Blackest Night is what made me reread that run of Aquaman, because I didn't know everything that happened, but like he went through it. He lost an arm, he lost a son, then he died. Like Arthur Curry went through it in the Flash, the Aquaman run before that.
Yeah.
Blackest Night, one of my favorites.
Dying is a pretty low point in anyone's career.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the DC universe, it's not that bad.
It's true.
Like,
It's like Dragon Ball.
you'll eventually get
Next time I
revived.
die, I get a free parfait.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably have punch out cards. But yeah, really sad stuff to hear about that. In better news, the Multiverse of Madness final trailer dropped, and we got some artworks, poster works, I think, of the characters. And yeah, I'm the more I see about it, the more I am cautiously excited about what they could be doing to this movie, because there's a lot going on.
Do you think we're gonna get like toy spoilers?
We already have.
For Professor X. And stuff?
Oh, ooh, whatever character Patrick Stewart is playing, I don't know. I feel like that's too much of a spoiler, because like him sitting down, everybody sits down. That doesn't mean he's bound to a wheelchair. So, if he's a different character besides Charles, then no. But even if he is Charles, still no, because that's major spoilers. That's like how they weren't doing the trailers and everything containing
Yeah.
Andrew and Toby until like, what was it, a couple weeks after the release. Then they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna have it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna include them, make more people come. Like everybody who didn't want spoilers already showed up to the movie. So yeah,
Yeah, it definitely did make a lot more people come.
yeah.
I agree.
Don't say that word.
Yeah, they came to the movie.
Yeah. 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 You don't remember what you said to me earlier.
What?
What?
Don't make it weird.
Okay. So, yeah, cautiously excited about Multiverse of Madness. Whatever's happening, super excited. If it ties into What If, we have yet to see, but a lot of people are speculating that. But yeah, in sadder DC news, in Marvel news, all of DC news is sad. Morbius, neither of us saw it. It apparently was a total disaster. Apparently, trailer footage wasn't even in the actual movie. It was all bait and switch stuff. Even the director spoiled the end credit scene. Just a big flop for Sony. Not surprising with their track record. Venom was okay. But definitely sad to see because it's Spider-Man related. So you want high hopes for all of that stuff. But
Didn't the director go on record to say that if he said what universe it was supposed to be in, he would get like shot? Which sort of confirms that that it was supposed to be in the Amazing Spider-Man's universe.
I don't even know. I think he even confirmed it on Twitter, but like there's just so much with like the post credit and like explaining how some characters got there that like I don't even think it's worth like any form talking about how this movie just was a total train wreck.
I would be so happy if they just gave Andrew his third movie. He deserves it, man.
Yeah, honestly, like a lot of people were talking.
They would make money.
I've seen a lot of people on TikTok talk about it. They were just like, they have a joint thing over Peter Parker. Like, there's so many other things they could do. Like, they could literally make movies about any other Spider Person, or just make movies about the existing plot lines that they have. But um, apparently Sony doesn't know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
next we have. Now I am not a really big fan of this franchise. I saw the first two movies. I really love Greek mythology, but I haven't delved into the books yet. But Walker Scobie, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, um, who was one of the main characters on the Adam Project, a movie directed and produced by Ryan Reynolds, was casted to play Percy Jackson in the upcoming Percy Jackson live-action adaptations. Now,
Please make it good.
unlike me, Vincent has a lot to say because he is actually a fan of the series.
I own every single book, including the Egyptian side series that he made.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my god, Percy Jackson's such a good series, and it was so. It was really important for me as a kid, because I have ADHD. Growing up, with it, especially like when like knowledge about it wasn't necessarily the most common thing. Now it's just really commonplace. Most people either know about ADHD, have it, or know somebody with it at this point.
Yeah.
And having a hero like Percy Jackson and all of the Greek kids who have quote unquote ADHD, and just having it center stage for a young child to read really helped fix my views on it as a kid. I think they explain it in the first movie, but like the reason why the kids have ADHD is not because they actually have it. It's just that their minds are still wired to be always attentive and ready to fight because of their Greek god blood or something. It's kind of goofy, but I was there for it.
Interesting. Yeah, I have high hopes for this because I want to get invested into a world like this. If anybody knows like Greek mythology or like has read Greek stories, it's definitely like a lot to consume. A side note, I didn't even have this in my notes, but we're talking about this and we're talking about Greek mythology. There's this guy on TikTok that I follow, and shameless plug, he is actually writing a play, like a musical about the Odyssey. You were in theater. You should be interested in this.
Yeah.
He's doing a musical about the Odyssey. It's called Epic. I'll send you the guy's TikTok after we're done.
That's epic.
But it's literally a musical retelling of the Odyssey through and through, with amazing songs. And they're actually going into some type of production soon. They were just at a film festival, and he announced a
Awesome.
producer. They've already cast people for voices for songs for the digital at least. Digital and physical is going to be totally different, I'm guessing. Kind of like how like Hamilton is, or like other stuff like In the Heights. Like their songs are different digitally. There's like the recorded album, and then there's like the movie album, which are different voices usually. At least for like the songs of the characters. But yeah, no, okay, yeah, Percy Jackson, yeah. Next thing I have is on the 18th, which should be the next Monday, from when this gets released. The Batman is being released on HBO Max, which is really soon. But it's a really good movie, so I feel like it should. The more people can see it, the better.
I'm probably I don't know if I should have my sister watch this movie. She's still kind of young, but at the same time, like, this is such a good movie.
I don't know. After all those reviews that you were telling me from last time, like they're just like I shouldn't have brought my child.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, my sister's kind of messed up.
It depends. If she's mature enough, then probably.
I mean, she's watched all of, albeit it's like not nearly as like bloody and messed up that it as the Batman, but she has like watched Suicide Squad. She's
Which
both
one?
new and old. She's
Oh.
watched the Harley Quinn series. She's watched
Oh yeah. No,
like she's invested in DC, and she's watched some like more gruesome things. At
yeah.
this
Put her in
point.
a dark room for a couple hours and then let her watch it. She can mix the two tones together.
Just step away and come back after she finished the movie and be like, "How was it?" And she looks at me. She's like, "I vengeance."
Justice.
Just-
In our last piece of movie news, I believe I think Vincent has some other stuff, but the last thing on my list is Sonic 2, just released, really good movie scores, and minor spoilers from the post credits. There's probably going to be a third one, but yeah.
it. I want to ask about the post-credit scene. I still haven't seen Sonic 1, and I know I need to. What streaming is it on? It's HBO, right?
Oh no, I think it's just movie release right now. It might
It's
be on
just
Stars.
movie release?
I think it's just on Star. It
Mhm.
might be on Stars.
Well,
I'll tell you after the podcast.
I've heard there might be Shadow coming, which would be cool. I was always a fan of Shadow because he has weird rocket
The gun?
shoes.
Oh,
Oh, the gun? Yeah, the Shadow video game is a masterpiece and should be having like a 4K HD remake.
yeah.
But moving on. Also related to Sonic, Jim Carrey has announced now after the Sonic movie that he is planning on retiring. He has said that he has done enough, he has made enough, and honestly, he kind of has. He's dipped his toes in everything. He's been acting for 40 years. I tried to find an exact number on it, but Google decided to give me a at least, which is kind of weird for a search engine of
Interesting.
Google's like notoriety. But it says at least 56 movies. Not, I don't think that includes any of his comedy specials that he's done over the years. That man has really seen it and done it all. And what a great way to end your career with being Dr. Robotnik.
Eggman himself.
Yeah, man. Along with that, we have another notable actor retiring. Unfortunately, this one is on a sadder note because it's more of a forced retirement. Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia. And because of that, his family has announced that he's going to be retiring also after at least 40 years of acting. But
Thanks,
he has a kill count of also at least, thank you Google, at least 126 movies.
That is
Not bad.
That's
Not bad.
That's crazy. That is a life lived full
That's
of your career.
man. That's so many movies. That's a good chunk of somebody's life.
That's
that
a
they just
lifetime,
wanted
yeah.
devoted to watching Bruce Willis every single day.
Yeah, it's really sad to hear, especially because like he was so passionate for the art form, and he's just a great actor, and not saying that I just shouldn't say it. It's not aphasia is a linguistic disorder, so I can from my brief Google search, I can only understand that this probably affects his speech. He probably wouldn't be able to do the majority of what they'll ask him, like speaking wise, but he's still there. It's not something like he has amnesia or he has like memory loss. So hopefully we still see him in Hollywood. It's just not the way that we're used to. Like
Yeah.
I hope to see him at the next Oscars.
I really, I really hope to too. Thank you for the great transition as well into my next point. Speaking of the Oscars, um, while we've been taking a break, a lot of stuff happened. The Oscars happened, which was a very fun time to watch. One of the best Oscars, mostly because Will Smith slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. Um, and we finally seen what seems to be the final resolution of all of this. Will Smith still keeping his award, which I think he definitely deserves. He's an amazing actor, has been for a long time, but he's now been banned from going to the Oscars and being present there for 10 years.
Could you imagine if like he still wins awards, but they have to like hand it off to
Oh
like
my
the director?
God.
They're just like, this is for Will.
Send it like UPS.
Yeah, this is for Will Smith, but we'll give it to him later when we Uber past his house.
We'll FedEx it to him. Don't worry, we'll pay extra money so they kick it extra hard.
Or like he always loses. Oh God, that's drama.
Do you at this point, now that he's been banned for 10 years, I think it's very safe to say that that this was not staged. This was definitely just him being really, really mad.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice your profile picture.
Oh yeah. Chris Rock paint. I really like the headband. It's kind of hard to see since it's small, but the headband says Beast Mode.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting thing that happened, and whether
Still doesn't feel real.
Yeah, whether it was staged or not, it was definitely interesting. I definitely think Chris Rock should have looked at him and just been like, "That all you got?" Like, But
Chris Rock took that like a champ, and the fact that he didn't want to press charges afterwards and that he was just really, really chill about it was awesome.
yeah, there's even more drama behind that with like everybody involved. But yeah, I think that's all we have for movie news. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I have one more.
All right, sweet.
It's a movie that is not officially out yet, but it has already broken records for sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for longer than I've ever seen any other movie do for pre-movie like screenings. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the one movie that I've been more excited for than I ever thought I would be for a movie to come out. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is the Nicolas Cage movie where Nicolas Cage
plays
Nicolas
himself.
Cage.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
For a second, I was staring at my screen like, what is this movie about again? And then I was just like, oh, this is the Nicolas Cage movie.
I am so unbelievably excited. I've always been a big fan of Nicolas Cage. Honestly, like Ghost Rider growing up, I know people kind of don't like the Ghost Rider movies.
I didn't like the second one, but the first one was fucking amazing.
I loved both the Ghost Rider movies. The second one was just fucking goofy. But Nicolas Cage, what an amazing man. If you can act out a scene where you say the entire alphabet and make it enjoyable to watch, I think you've cemented yourself as a good actor. And Nicolas Cage has definitely done that.
It reminds me of this thing that I saw where it was kind of he's playing himself, right? And like a lot of movies have like meta stuff like that where like a character will come in and like they'll be themselves. Like it happens a lot for like musicians or like news anchors and stuff like that where like they have like Ellen playing Ellen because they're gonna show the show for like a couple seconds because like the news is showing. But it reminds me of this video I saw, and it was like Adam Sandler and all of his friends were just playing themselves and having a fun time during Grown Ups. Like they were just being themselves and spent like millions of dollars on like a vacation. That was also a movie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that should be an exciting movie. I think that's like one of the few non comic book or action related movies that I will watch by myself that's not with my fiance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna try to force and drag as many people with me to see that movie as I can. I think that movie is going to be deserving to see by like anyone.
Yeah. All right, I think that's everything for our movie news. So I will let Vincent take away what we have for our small bit of game news.
Yeah. Um. Uh. Really awesome event happened. Over the weekend. Albeit like a month or two later than the actual 20th anniversary, we had the 20th anniversary event for Kingdom Hearts. Um, it's crazy to think that the game series has been going on for that long and it still doesn't make sense. Um,
Darkness.
well, why not light? Um, but at the event, I was really worried that they were going to show off footage like they had previous at the previous event where they showed off Kingdom Hearts 3 and like none of the footage came out. It was just really it was kept behind closed doors and nobody got to see it until we got like an actual playable gameplay thing at E3. Fortunately, Square Enix did not do that this time and gave us all of the trailers they dropped. We are getting Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, which is a new mobile game. Uh, where you actually it's an actual like 3D Kingdom Hearts game. It seems like it's probably going to be like 358 days over two, but just on mobile, and then mixing in Union Cross characters, which is going to be cool. Um, I'll play it. I have the Android emulator on my computer, so I'll just play it on my computer. It'll be fun. Um, we had the final update announced for Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, the previous mobile game for Kingdom Hearts series. So it'll give us even more important lore that I'm going to watch on YouTube because I can't be bothered to play through the entirety of that game. I think it's around like 60 plus hours at this point. Um, and then the biggest announcement, Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development. We don't have a date yet for when it's going to come out. We
But
don't
we
have
did
a
get
year
a
or anything
trailer.
like that. We got a trailer, and what a trailer, man.
Yeah.
Like so many implications showing off a character that we never thought we'd see again and a character that will confuse anyone who's not played Union Cross.
Yeah. Already explained, and because people were talking about it within the fandom after it was released, he's just in a different world. The art style change isn't big. This still Kingdom Hearts. Don't worry.
Yeah.
He's just in a different art style. Just like he's going to the Parts of the Caribbean world or like any of the other worlds, like the toy world or anything like that.
Also, important thing to note, I guess spoiler warning. Yeah, spoiler warning for the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. Um but Kingdom Hearts as a franchise has always done like really goofy and interesting and weird things, being like this game that cares really a lot about the number 13, its sequel is going to be announced exactly like 13 years later to the date, have a lot of like importance on numbers and just like little details. um at the end of the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora fights a certain person in the world that we see him in the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. And you can see the apartment building that Sora's in from there. Well, if you take the camera over and get a closer look at that building, that exact building is a real building in Japan. And that building is the building where the 20th anniversary event took place.
Oh wow, it's amazing.
I this is why I love this series. Little stuff like that is the most relevant information that you would ever see. I'm still waiting to hear how they're going to explain why Sora was in Super Smash Brothers, because that has to be canon now.
Eh. I, I jumped in Discord the other day and I was talking to this. I got into it. Okay, I'm gonna ramble for a minute. I got into a power scaling debate on TikTok, with this guy, and he was saying how it was like one of those like versus videos, and like they were talking about character versus character and how it'd go down and who'd win. Um, and he said like Sosuke Aizen from Bleach versus Sephiroth, right? And for those who don't know, uh, whether this becomes a power scaling debate for me or not. Um, the characters in Bleach are like extremely strong because they have spiritual pressure, and spiritual pressure is like literal like gravitational force, like manifest, um, and that shows how strong they are. Like some characters in Bleach like literally can destroy like a literal essence of like soul energy, which soul energy is a whole other debacle. But Sosuke Aizen is debatably like the biggest villain in the series. Super strong. Uh, and they said that Sephiroth would beat him. And I said in the comments, no. Because what he said was Sephiroth was a high outer character. And the high outer like curriculum means that like he exists like I believe on like a scale that sits outside a universe. And the reason he said this was because he said Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts are connected, right? He said they're canon to each other, and he said if Sephiroth scales to Sora, then that means that he is high outer because Sora is a character that sits outside the known universe. Um, which, in general, in my opinion, sounds bonkers. Uh, because of like the implication that like certain characters can like destroy a known universe, with like no effort. Uh, but it really went down the rails when I said, does that mean that Luigi is high outer because he shares the same universe as Smash? And he said yes.
Ooh.
And it went down a whole debacle debate of me saying that it doesn't make any sense. The guy has thus stopped responding. This was like a month or two ago, and I it just made me think about that. And he was scaling Sephiroth to be, such a powerful character because he's canon to Kingdom Hearts, and I said, well, shouldn't everybody in Smash be that powerful? And he was just like, yeah. But anyway, tangent over. Which is Kingdom Heart. From what I've read, Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy do not share the same continuity. It's the fact that Kingdom Hearts has Final Fantasy elements and does have Final Fantasy characters in its world. But Kingdom Hearts isn't canon to Final Fantasy, but Final Fantasy is canon to Kingdom Hearts. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Like whatever Sora does doesn't affect what's happening in the Final Fantasy world.
Yeah.
But things that happen to Final Fantasy can reflect in the Kingdom Hearts world.
Yeah. There is a popular fan theory which does connect Sora to being able to get away to Smash Brothers, where in Kingdom Hearts 2, Sephiroth and Cloud have fight with each other, and then the fight ends with them just disappearing and flying away. Cloud grows a wing, and they just fly away and disappear. And the theory there is that where they went to go fight in Smash Brothers. Which if Sora used the power of waking and just connected himself to Cloud's heart, he could just go from Kingdom Hearts 3 into Smash Brothers.
Interesting. That's a multiversal connection. But I think that's all we had for video game news, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, from there, we will move on to anime news. I'll let you take it, and I actually only have one thing to say after your news.
Yeah, absolutely. So both my things are pretty minor, but really major to me. As of the end of last season, Attack on Titan, the final season, part 2, ended. And immediately it was announced that in 2023 we're going to get Attack on Titan, the final season, part 3, the final arc. God, the names cannot get longer. Uh, I had long joked after I found out that the final season was getting a part 2 that we were going to end it off with a movie. After the final season part 3, and they did me one better and gave me an entire another season of anime to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had a whole talk about the ending of Attack on Titan before the start. Um, but this is just wrapping this last season, unlike prior ones, is only wrapping up 2 volumes. If it's gonna be a full 24 episode season, that's a bit of a stretch, but even 12 episodes, in my opinion, is kind of stretching the content up. Whether they do an anime only ending is still up for debate, hasn't been confirmed. Uh, but is very exciting to see the rest of Attack on Titan animated.
Absolutely. It's crazy for me to think that like obviously Attack on Titan has been around longer than when the like first season of the anime came out, but like it started coming out when I was a freshman in high school for the anime.
Yeah.
And now almost a full decade later it's going to end. Albeit there was like a pretty long hiatus between seasons 1 and 2, correct?
Yeah. It's
But
5 years.
still, like, it's still so much. Um, Last bit of anime news that I have, Shield Hero, season 2 finally has started airing. It comes out on Wednesdays. The first episode, amazing. I went into it thinking, oh, we're probably just gonna like reintroduce the characters. There's gonna be some minor setup, and then they just smack you over the fucking head with so much plot development and like really important stuff that's happening. There's already a new apocalypse. Let's go. We're gonna have a great season here, folks.
Still something that's on my bucket list to watch.
So good.
But exciting. I have one thing, and actually, I'm going to talk about this beforehand. Crunchyroll is apparently going to be implementing they're going to be putting the simulcasting as a premium service. Those who don't know, simulcasting is when you get the episode at the same time as it is released in Japan, if not like a couple minutes afterwards or like an hour after or something like that, instead of the next day or the next week. The way that it works in Crunchyroll is you get the newest episode, if you're not a premium member, a week after its release. So they I think, yeah. So simulcasting is becoming a premium feature, along with I think something else with ads. I wouldn't know. I pay for my anime. So that's just something minor. A bunch of changes have been going on with Crunchyroll for the past couple of years, and even more with their the purchase of Funimation. But with that said, a new anime that I have been super hyped for, I've been telling everybody to watch when it comes out because it is a awesome slice of life. Spy Family. First episode was released this week or the end of last week. I don't quite remember. With a dubbing that is going to be released April 15th, this upcoming Friday, with possible concurrent dubbings post-release, hopefully. I always think it's maddening how like dubs nowadays come out like hours after the release in Japan. Like these people like work their asses off for voice acting. It's crazy.
I've grown to I started watching anime with dubs and I always was a fan, and then I started watching subs and I stopped being a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then one show turned me back to dubs and I was like, oh yeah, these can be good, and that was Shield Hero. Shield Hero's dub, amazing. And I season 1, season 2, I can't hold myself back. I just need the information right now. But season 1, I waited until the dub came out just to watch it, because now Fumi's voice actor is just
Yeah.
fuck, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, as I I don't know. I think it just with dubbing for me, it was like what was on TV. Like of course I watched it, but as I started watching anime independently from what was on TV, like online, I just said forget about the dub.
Mhm.
And now I even prefer watching certain shows like in Japanese. Like whenever like I watched the entirety of the Star Wars Echoes thing in Japanese.
Yeah.
Um, and I also found out that the voice actor for Jiraiya from Naruto voiced the Watcher from What If. But that was just because like I had my language set and Disney Plus didn't switch it back. And I accidentally was
Wait,
watching.
What If has the Japanese dub?
Yeah, a lot of Disney Plus stuff has Japanese dub.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Why
like
was I not told sooner?
I watched. There was something that I tried to watch Japanese dub. I tried to watch the Pacific Rim Netflix show, but Pacific Rim was originally an American art form, and I understood some of the things faster when they were in English. So that was something that it was an animated show, and I was like I'm gonna watch it in sub, but I was just like it sounds better in dub anyway, and yeah, it's just always been that way. And I also read manga, so it goes for me. I'll read manga, then I'll watch the animation when it comes out as soon as it comes out. So that usually means that it's going to be in Japanese. Um, but yeah, I think that's all of our news. I had a thought when we were talking about Sonic, but I completely forgot. So yeah, we will get into this week's topic. Um, all right, so this week's topic, we're going to be talking about the very famous very famous warrior that is empowered by the moon, that dresses up while fighting crime. Today we're going to be talking about Sailor Moon, the first two episodes. Um, yeah, yeah. So Vincent, are you excited about Sailor Moon?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that they made Tuxedo Mask into such a like comedic anti-villain this time.
Yeah, yeah,
They
no.
really took a Joker approach to it.
Yeah, he
That I
definitely
really
does live in a
appreciated.
society.
Truly, truly.
But anyway, so we're gonna be talking about Moon Knight this week. The first two episodes. The next episode comes out next week, or tomorrow, not next week. It does come. Episode 4 does come out next week. But so today we're gonna talk about the first two episodes. I guess we'll break it down episode by episode and then talk about how we feel about the show so far. Um, the first episode, was definitely interesting. How do you feel about the perspective starting with Steven instead of Mark?
I liked it. I liked it. Just hopping into what seems like a normal person's life that's just kind of off and you're not sure why, and things unravel throughout the course of the episode. Um it was a very, very fun experience.
I I was definitely I I felt like they were gonna take some type of route like this, just to kind of throw people off, just because they're like the origins of Moon Knight and his history is very convoluted. And depending on the run, could be totally drastic from the last, um, in the comics at least. And the way that this starts is so, I don't know. The song is stuck in my head even now. Like it's on TikTok and like people make like memes about it, like waking up like Moon Knight, and like they copy the opening. I thought the funniest one was somebody crunched up some Skittles and put it into their shoes. Which that
Oh
opening
god.
part, was super interesting because like the implications of like what uh what's the main villain's name again? I it completely
Oh, Hero.
Hero?
I think
Is
so.
that the name of the Harrow. So Harrow, um in the first episode we see that he's like this religious figure for Amet, who in the comic books is usually just an avatar, is like takes form of like Mark's therapist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which it's interesting that they're taking this perspective because I don't think Harrow or I think Harrow's an original character, and I think Amet's never had this type of role for Moon Knight. Definitely taking like a sun god Ra perspective that we saw in I forget whose run, but that was what everybody had predicted, that this guy was going to be the avatar for Ra, and it was going to be Ra versus Khonshu, like the sun and the moon.
Mm.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think it's very thematic that Steven has this job uh, working in a museum, whether or not this was like all part of Mark's plan. But I'm rambling, so I want to hear your opinions about the first episode.
Well, the opening with Harrow doing the ritual was really cool, but it also hurt me when I saw him put the broken glass into his shoes and start walking
Yeah.
around in it. I I'm very adverse to like foot pain, as I've come to realize, as well as like hand pain. I'm not sure why that is, but anytime that pops up, I immediately am like, no,
Not for me.
tapping out, enough, I'm done. Uh, Mark's so not Mark. Steven. Steven is so awkward as a character, and I
Which is
adore him. He's
which
so
is
quirky.
which is interesting because that's not his personality that comic book readers know of Stephen Grant. Stephen Grant is very much like he's the playboy, like I wouldn't say like straight edge, but you know, he's not he's not this goofy guy. He's supposed to be like a playboy philanthropist that like gets Mark the money to
Yeah,
be Moon Knight.
yeah. He's supposed to be the Tony Stark personality.
Yeah,
for
not the
him.
9 to 5 museum worker.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the episode was so it didn't have a lot. The first episode didn't have a lot, but it felt so fulfilling. It's like when you eat a really light meal but you still feel full.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get the bit of action that we got was very much at the end, which I thought in episode 2 we were going to see the other perspective of the fight scenes that we see Mark and Steven flash in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't disappointing seeing. Like I didn't see this guy beat these guys up, but him like going in and out of consciousness and like waking up with like a gun or like a bloodied fist is just so, I don't know. I don't want to say like the Marvel's take on this feels refreshing, but like it's definitely not what we're used to. And I really like it.
Absolutely.
Um,
It. How terrifying must it be for Steven to like just fall asleep and then wake up nowhere near home, no, not knowing anywhere, and then all of a sudden just to start getting shot at.
Yeah, if I can only imagine this is like a very exaggerated feeling that people with DID actually get. Like
Mhm.
especially if like from my understanding with DID sometimes like alters like are very much like unconscious, but sometimes like it's described that they can like view they can't interact as the person, but they can see what is happening to the body.
Mhm.
Kind of like how when Mark, you see the reflection of Mark when Steven's in control. Like Mark, honestly, he knows what's happening, but it isn't till it isn't until the second episode that we actually see him conscious but not in control. Uh, but the ending of the first, I don't know if there's anything in the middle you want to talk about that. Haru's powers are kind of interesting. Um, we in the comic books there was an event that sounds kind of similar to what Haru's doing. Preemptively killing off the now innocent for future crimes they may commit. Very Civil War II in the comic books, using like a precognitive inhuman to kill off people, or not to kill off people, to arrest people who haven't done any crimes yet.
Mhm.
This is a whole movie. I forget the name of it. um, like where they oh my goodness, there's gonna be so much slander in the comments if somebody hears this. Uh, like preemptively, there's literally a movie about this.
The first thing that pops up in my head was Psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a better, a better, a better explanation for us weebs is psychopaths, like using stress levels and detecting like threat levels based on like blood pressure and like possible intent. But for Haro, it's like using uh, Ahmet's magic.
Using his tattoo,
Yeah,
flexes it and makes it move around a little bit. He's like, "Ooh, that one's slightly
Yeah.
lower. You're dead."
yeah. I mean, Maui can do that, but he doesn't go off around killing people. So
True. Maybe Maui was the host of
Ahmet before
Raw.
him. He's the
Oh,
host of
yeah.
Raw.
He's the host of Raw.
Interesting. But the first episode, I think that's pretty much everything in the first episode that's important. You see, like he has this, he has the cell phone where like he's calling Layla, who in the second episode we meet and everything. But he also gets a call from Frenchie. It's Frenchie's actual name, which I'm totally missed. But he gets a bunch of calls from Layla, but then he
Interesting.
gets one call from Frenchie.
I missed the Frenchie phone
Which
call.
Frenchie was like, it's literally like he's scrolling down his missed calls, and it's Layla. Frenchie's actual name, which I didn't know until like after TikTok had told me it was supposed to be a Frenchie reference, and then Layla. So Frenchie's out there. Um,
I
and
loved. Oh, sorry.
go
ahead.
go ahead.
I loved when he managed to get back and wake up and he thought it was all a dream of being wherever he was. I don't know if they even like said where he was.
No, a lot
Um,
of people are speculating because they saw a castle and everything that is supposed to be Latveria, but I feel like that's a stretch.
Um, but I love that he thought it was a dream. The fact that the goldfish grew a fin back is weird.
It's a different fish.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's supposed
just
to be a different
fish.
It's implied that something happened to it, and Mark was like, "Oh, I got to give him a new fish because I think it's not explained in the second episode or anything, but like I guess it's more implied that Mark has kind of like set up this world for Steven as like the body to do as like the altar to do stuff throughout the day, but Mark does everything else at night. Kind of like how the symbiote was in Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
And like
That
maybe
makes more sense. For some reason, in my head, it was that the scarab had something to do with it, and that he had it in there. It was like regenerating his fish. For
Oh
some
no no
reason.
no no no.
But no, that makes more sense. That it's just a new fish.
Yeah, no.
Um,
My thought process is Mark forgets to feed the fish at night, and then it just died. So he was just like, "Crap, Steven's gonna know that the fish is gone."
I loved how broken he was when the girl was like, "It's hard to have steak on a Friday when it's Sunday."
Yeah, that scene was
Um,
so well directed and well acted out. I I felt like I was watching like like a drama show, and like Oscar Isaac's. It was a really good performance.
I was laughing so hard when he's like, "Yeah, I like the best bit of the steak and the
Yeah, he was just
way
like,
the
I'm
steak.
vegan.
How
I
would
don't
you
know how
like-
to cook it.
How would you like it done?" And he's like,
Good.
"Good."
I like it really
Good.
good.
I
The
like
guy-
it good.
The guy's just like, all right, well,
Yeah.
well done, I guess. No, um, there were some good bits. I really there's bits in episode 2 that I just find hilarious. But the end of this episode, they get cornered by Amet because Haro ends up at the museum. Judges him, says that like uses his powers and uses the cane, and he judges him, and he says there's much chaos in his body. Whether that's like inferring to him that like Moon Knight himself is doing good, but his ends aren't very good. Like his ends don't justify his means of like defending people or trying to do good. Or it might infer that Steven himself, his personality is innocent, but Mark has done a lot of bad things in his life. But after that, he uses like Monster Reborn and like summons like this freaking like dog creature and sends it after Mark. Which interestingly enough, we figure out like only Mark can see it, which harkens back to the comics really well. Like, a couple panels have been floating around of a run. I keep forgetting who's writing these runs. But Mark's in like a mental facility, and he's like seeing things, just like how Steven is seeing things like that nobody else can see. But it's only when like he dons his title as Moon Knight does he see these things. But the end of the episode, they're cornered in a bathroom. Mark's like, "Give me the body." It sounds out of context. It really doesn't sound that good. Give me control of the body.
so I can protect us.
Yeah. And then he suits up, all magical girl transformation, beats the dog's ass as Sailor Moon, and we get like a cool turnaround, which we saw from one of the trailers.
I love how the suit looks. The suit. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Marvel Cinematic Universe suit.
Yeah, we could take a couple minutes to talk about this because Moon Knight's suit in the comics is very plain. Like,
Yes.
a lot of artists accentuate Moon Knight's suit by making it glow, because Moon Knight, if you didn't already know, fights people at night when the moon's out because he has moon powers. So they make his cape, usually like his skin, like anything that's like skin tight to him has like a grayish tone. But usually like his cape and cowl and hood and everything like that are like a glowing white to accentuate his features. But besides really good shading and everything, Mark's suit is just white, which in this show they take it a step further and give him like Egyptian robes, and like it just looks so. At first I really didn't like it in like the first trailer that we saw, like the sneak peek trailer and like the early leaks that we got, but it's grown on me so much seeing it in action and like seeing it multiple times and it being donned. Like, the direction that they're taking him is very like he's like a magical based superhero in the MCU, less of like the traditional street fighting like vigilante he is in the comics. But it's so cool the way that it looks, like, and the way that it like morphs onto him, like a magical girl transformation. It just looks
Turning him into a mummy.
it looks so cool, and I love it. And like we see that in the second episode he uses like his chest to like he can rip the sigil off and get like moon
It's like
rings.
Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like he beats the shit out of the dog.
Dog starts clawing out of the doorway, trying to get away. It
He's
was
like,
so
"Ah,
funny.
ah!"
It made me laugh so hard.
It reminded me of those little creature things from the Scooby-Doo live-action movie.
Uh,
Um, but first episode, really solid, really good building for an anticipation for like wanting this. I feel like maybe Moon Knight is the best show to come out so far without any previous Marvel knowledge. Because so far, it's very standalone from the first two episodes. Every other thing that has been released for for Marvel on Disney Plus, you have to kind of have our existing knowledge. It's the only show that doesn't require existing knowledge.
yeah.
And I think it does storytelling very well. This feels like a pilot episode that was pitched to a network, and like they're trying to give as much information and like keeping people in for episode 2. And I really liked it. If I had to give it like an out of 5 score, I definitely give it like a 4.8 out of 5.
I'd agree with that.
And going on to the second episode, Steven's asking a lot more questions. Like, he knows that this isn't something that is just in his head. He knows that physical stuff is happening. You know, he just got ran out of a city. He just got gunned down in a bakery truck in the first episode.
Yeah, it was a truck devoted specifically to selling cupcakes.
Amazing. And like he knows that stuff is happening. So what is it? The first thing he does is he goes to work, looks at the camera, finds out from the camera that everything that is happening is in his head, but is also real. Like, he's the only one that can see stuff when it's happening. Because they
Yes.
look back at the footage, the Jackal's not there. He's just running like a wussy from nothing. And then we get this scene where Steven's looking up at the camera very intently, but it's a more serious face, and we actually see that it's Mark looking up at Steven. Really cool. The back and forth between him and the security guard for the museum is like super cool. And I hope nothing happens to the security guard. I feel like he's gonna die.
Oh no.
But-
Probably.
But we figure out he tries to, I think I'm missing some details in between here, but he goes back to his apartment, but he has like the keys to a storage locker, and then he eventually finds the storage locker, right?
Yes.
And then from the storage locker, he finds all of Mark's stuff, including a gun, his passport, which is a U.S. passport from what we see, and the Beetle, which we hear in the background that the Beetle... At first, I thought that he was going to use it as like a transformation device.
Oh.
Like, he'd press the Beetle, and like the Beetle would like summon energy, and like he'd have like a Super Sentai Kamen Rider transformation. Sadly, it's not. But the Scarab is used to find the tomb of Amet. Very specific thing. There's a bunch of back and forth between Mark and Steven. Steven's like, "You're a killer," like, blah, 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 blah. "I'm not going to let you have my body." And then Khonshu's just like, "Bro, fucking kick his ass, Mark. Like, get in there." And then he's like, "I'm going to take all this stuff. I'm going to report you to the police." And then an amazing scene happens, and we skimmed over this from the first episode, but the elevator scene. We saw this in a trailer.
Oh my god.
The elevator scene was amazing. Super.
Khonshu looks so fucking cool.
Yeah, Khonshu, very comic accurate design, by the way. I mean,
Very.
it's very simple. Khonshu's just a chicken in robes.
Yeah.
But very threatening. Very powerful looking. The horror-esque scenes that we get with him that like make Steven scared are super good. I think it's so funny how the old lady gets freaked out and she's just trying to bang on somebody's door. She's just like, "Help me! So my friend lives here. Leave me alone."
I don't know why she was so scared of him. Like, I would feel uneasy if I like went to step into an elevator and the first thing I was greeted by was somebody cowering in fear in the corner. But like, I wouldn't immediately just be terrified of them, especially when they say, "Oh, I dropped a contact lens."
Yeah.
That's like a semi-believable thing, and she it seems like she's standing in the same room as like a murderer or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she is standing in the same room as murder.
Well, that's whatever.
Steven's not a murderer.
No, Steven has never done anything.
He's a cinnamon bun.
He is a cinnamon bun.
God, that made me think about Cookie Run. Hey, Cookie Run, can you sponsor us?
I'll do pulling streams.
Yeah, same. So we get this similar scene in the second episode to the elevator scene, but it's Steven running in like a storage facility, and Khonshu is like either like mentally or physically altering the space, and like it's flashing around, and like you get these brief like images of Khonshu like in the light, and then the lights keep going on and off. Visually amazing, very horror-esque vibes, but visually it just looks so cool. If I was Steven, I would be pissing my pants. I'd be like, what did I get myself into? Scary chicken guy attacking me. But after that, help me here. I don't remember what happens after that scene.
After he's spooked by Khonshu and runs through a much longer version of the lockers that than we were initially led on to believe, he runs outside and then runs into Layla.
Yeah, runs into Layla. Okay. If you wanna, do you want to take it from here?
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
He runs into Layla. Layla, understandably, who is Mark Spector's wife, is like, "Mark, where the fuck have you been? What is going on?" And Steven
You're my wife.
just sort of goes along with it.
Yeah, you're my wife. What?
But it just is kind of confused. She gives him a little motorcycle ride, and we get some exposition thrown back and forth between them. Steven just keeps saying, "I'm not Mark," and she's like, "Funny bit, Mark. Please talk to me. I'm your wife."
Please stop the role playing. We're not in bed.
Yeah, no. And they do this all the way back in, and then inside of his apartment. And Steven starts to try to explain things to her properly about the whole scarab thing. And Mark, after not talking for the longest time, finally pops in and he's like, "Don't tell her about the scarab or she'll die." And then
whenever Mark
tells her about the scarab.
whenever Mark chimes in, I'm always thinking of like him just being like, I want memes to happen of it, which Khonshu does a good job in this episode of like chiming in at times and makes it funny, but I feel like he should be like, erase my search history, Mark. She can't see it. don't Steven, erase my search history. She's not allowed to see it. Don't let her open the laptop.
Can't find my justice.
But yeah, they're in his apartment. She gets the scarab. They also have like a back and forth about like, she's just like, you're studying like like archaeology and like stuff about Egypt, which we can assume that like some recesses of his mind finds this stuff familiar, and that's why he's interested in it, because these are all things that we assume that Mark already knows, because Layla is like, you know, she says that like, this is your favorite book, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, no, it's my favorite book. Um, he's studying like language and hieroglyphics, and like she's completing his sentences and everything like that. Very cute, but at the same time, kind of freaky for him. But this is
I have this feeling that Steven's personality was created by Mark based solely around Layla.
very possible. If you remember, Steven initially in the comics was Mark's imaginary friend.
Oh.
So Mark created an imaginary friend because he was lonely as a kid. And eventually, when everything came ahead with Khonshu and his mind was shattered, Stephen Grant was a personality, but it's a long-lasting personality that he has. Like, it's weird to say it's a personality that Mark has history with in the comics, because he identified it not just as a different personality within himself, but like as a separate entity. I think in this show, this was definitely created as some type of either cover for what's happening right now with Amet, or maybe something to do with Layla, like you're saying. But go on.
And then Layla slaps down in front of him. The reason why she's been trying to get a hold of him as much lately. And she slaps down divorce papers in front of him. And Steven, the cinnamon bun that he is, was immediately like, wait a minute, I just found out that I have a wife. I don't want to get rid of you yet. Can't we talk this out?
I wouldn't divorce you. What is this?
I wouldn't do this. And before any more words are said, they are interrupted by a couple of fake police officers.
These police officers are actually important characters. They are, in the comic books, Amet has two servants that we actually find out are jackals, that take the form of humans. These characters are supposed to be them, because we find out, like, literally a couple scenes later that they are actually part of the group that Haro has. But yeah, so they get knocked on their door by TSA. They're just like, we need to check, and then she's just like, no one's home. Steven's a cinnamon bun and gets the door docked in, and they just start touching his stuff. And then Layla's hiding out on the roof. And then eventually, what is it?
They pick up the guy picks up a pyramid.
This is
he's
stolen
like,
property.
What is this? And Steven's like, it's a paperweight. He's like, where did it come from? And Steven is like, the paperweight store? And he gives him like the weirdest look. Like, why is it weird? I mean, yes, it's weird that there's a store devoted entirely to paperweights.
But he can
like,
buy this.
That is the place that you would buy a paperweight, right?
Yeah. But this episode's a little foggy, so if you want to continue explaining.
Yeah. They eventually track down a fake ID. Well, actually, a proper ID that says the name Mark Spector on it.
Yeah.
And arrest, quote unquote, arrest him on the spot, take him away, and they, during the car ride, they explain, how big of a deal Mark Spector is finally to us, listing how many, he's got like 28 kills on record or something.
Something crazy.
Just a very wanted worldwide fugitive.
Yeah, and this is also the scene where we see that these guys actually work for Haro. We see that they have the tattoos like him. They're part of his organization.
Yeah. uh, they bring him to Haro. Haro just walks over and is just really chill
Yeah, he's like running like
for a long time.
he's running like a Salvation Army type of deal where like it's a community that they don't necessarily they all contribute to, but like don't necessarily they all have their own roles. It's like an old like Eurocentric like society that runs on technology that does run on technology, but like they don't have like normal societal structures. Like Haro's the leader, but like it seems like it's like a cult. It's just a cult. I don't know why I made it sound any more explicit. It's just a cult.
As Haru explains, it's like a hive mind. They all share their own knowledge bases so that everyone can be as strong as everyone else.
It's a cult. Yeah.
At one point, yeah, it is just a cult. At one point, he starts. There's a girl who speaks Mandarin to him. He speaks Mandarin back.
Yeah.
Fun fact: Simu Liu, also known as Shang-Chi, he has gone on record to say that Ethan Hawke, who's the actor that plays Harrow, needs to fire his Mandarin coach because apparently it was horribly broken Mandarin.
Dang. Get roasted.
Which I find is very funny. That does not happen for like Marvel and Disney stuff.
Yeah.
So to have that happen is good. Maybe that was an acting choice that he made. I'm not sure. But he's explaining to him and talking to him about this world, this perfect world that he wants to create. And explains to him that he was the previous host for Khonshu, and does this very. Khonshu is my favorite character in episode 2, because of what happens during the entire time that Steven is hanging out with Harrow. Khonshu is just shouting in the background
Minority
the entire
Report.
way through.
Minority Report is the movie that they arrest people for future crimes. I got it. I looked it up. Yeah. No. This is a Minority Report cult.
But it's just shouting in the background, "I am justice. He cannot understand the truth that I bring."
And then he just
sounds like a WWE character the entire time.
and then
Harrow's just like, what did he just say, that he's justice?
yeah, he's like predicting what he's saying.
Khonshu, all right.
Yeah, which I think this is a really cool direction because I don't think we've ever correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've ever really seen other avatars of Khonshu in the comics like come to the limelight and talk about their experiences with Khonshu.
No one's talked about what they've done with Khonshu. I know briefly just because I've seen it in Google Images. I haven't read the comic for it, but there is like a bit where Moon Knight gets 3 like ancient Egyptian items, like the Millennium Puzzles, and unlocks memories of previous hosts for Khonshu.
Which is interesting,
but they don't talk, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think anybody's like put their 2 weeks in working with Khonshu. You know, I think most of them have either died or they're like a mummy now, like an actual mummy. So, yeah, I love Khonshu. I love Khonshu in this. He's
His neck.
Yeah. Yeah, later on we'll get to that because it's like my favorite scene, and I kept playing it back over and over again. So Khonshu's just Ahmet's avatar Haro. It's kind of like at the same time of like telling him to join him and leave Khonshu is just like, where's the scarab? We need the scarab. And he explains to him what the scarab's used for, and Mark's just like, I don't got the scarab. I'm sorry. He's like, this is good soup, but I don't have the scarab. They get soup, by the way.
This is good soup. I don't have the scarab.
And
that's
then,
unfortunate because I really want it. So give it to me.
Yeah, he's just like, give it to me, and everybody just starts standing up, and they're just like, we need the scarab, and it looks like they're about to jump him, when Layla comes out of nowhere, and she's just like, I have the scarab, and then nobody jumps her. And then she runs away with Mark, and she's just like, put on the suit. And he's just like, the suit? What's the suit? And she's just like, come on, the suit. I've seen you put it on before. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then once again, freaking Ahmet uses, or Haro uses, like, Call of the Haunted and summons back his creature from before, using some, like, mystical magic, because he says that the cane has a fragment of Ahmet's power in it. Now, that's an interesting thing, because a lot of people have theories of, like, what it could possibly be and everything like that, but Ahmet has sealed her power within the cane, and that's how he gets his powers to receive judgment onto people. My nose is plugging up every second that I speak, and I only imagine how this is going to sound in the recording. But they run away. Layla's just like, I need you to put on the suit, and then the Jackal's still chasing after them. They eventually get cornered in this room. Stop me if you want to say anything or have anything that I'm missing, but they get into this room, and she's just like, put on the suit. He's just like, I don't got a suit. And then the Jackal comes in the room, and Steven's freaking out, but Layla doesn't see it. Something that's very interesting is, like, we pretty much get confirmed at this point. Mark is the only one that can see these crazy mystical things that are happening. They affect the real world, but he's the only one who can see them. I'm guessing Haro can also see them because he's the one summoning them. And possibly his acolytes can see them because they have the tattoo.
Maybe. Yeah, anyone that seemingly has an actual, like, touch of some kind by one of these Egyptian gods can just interact and see this other kind of other world. I'm sure we're going to see more and more of that in the very next episode. And we'll get to why that is. But it's I love when enemies are, like, invisible. It's just one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
And like
JoJo's
only one person can see them.
JoJo's is really turning this
everyone
into
else is
the
like, oh, this dude's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, but it does affect the real world. Like, Layla sees it push Mark. She sees that Mark gets pushed through a window. But Layla can't see.
Slams a pot of, like, water or something on its head, and we can see a brief outline of
Yeah.
his face. So it's just invisible.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, whether it's using, like, magic to cloak itself, or, like, it's physically there, like, in this plane, but, like, the normal people's eyes can't see it, whether it's due to, like, magic or stuff. It's really interesting. But we see Mark get pushed out the window, and, like, not Mark, Steven gets pushed out the window, and then Mark's just like, you gotta give me the body. I gotta put on the suit so we can fight him. And I want you to explain the next few things that happen.
And then Steven pushed all other thoughts outside of his brain, and only one word came to mind: suit, 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 suit. And he just believed really hard as he was falling to his death. And the suit starts coming on him, which is awesome. And then he smacks his head into a fucking pole like a Looney Tune, spins around and slams into the ground, fully suited up as Mr. Knight himself. I'm so happy they brought Mr. Knight into the TV show. For those who don't know, Mr. Knight is just Moon Knight when he read Sherlock Holmes for a week. He just really wanted to be a detective, and he's just wearing a fully white suit and a fully white mask.
Yeah, it's and the show has definitely taken a different turn of what Mr. Knight has become. We see him fight. Steven fights the Jackal a little bit in this suit, and from what we can tell from this episode, Mr. Knight is going to be Steven's superhero persona. Whether he gets called Mr. Knight or he is still Moon Knight and it's just a different suit, it's for us to see in the future. But this is the suit that he dons. Mr. Knight in the comic books is just more. It's still Mark. In the comic books, it's more or less just Mark being Moon Knight, but it's him when he's not out fighting crime and when he's actually talking to people. Because
He's talking to police and stuff.
yeah, like Moon Knight actually runs like a professional business, not for money or anything, called the Midnight Mission, like where
Yeah.
people come for their problems, which usually includes like vampires, werewolves, or other things
I
like
love that.
that.
He's such a people person, you know?
Yeah, he like crazy Moon Knight's still there, but he's like professional because he has like the gloves and the suit and tie, and like this is how he talks to normal people instead of like his crazy caped crusader persona. It's still the same guy, but they've taken it and made it Steven's superhero persona in the show. Really interesting. He gets so back to the fight. He gets thrown around by the jackal, and like they look in the mirror, and he's just like, "Look, man, I can't be Psycho Colonel Sanders. You have to let me have the body so I can beat this thing up."
Such a good line.
He was just like Moon Knight. He was like suit. He was just like, we look like crazy Colonel Sanders. He was like, what is this?
Looked really good on him though, I will say.
Um,
I love that he still like fully has Moon Knight's powers and probably his equipment somewhere. I'm sure that like he had some kind of way to have like the moon batarang thing.
yeah, I'm sure.
As Mr. Knight, but it's just Steven being a sweet summer child and not knowing a single thing.
Yeah, he like
So tries-
rolls up
he
the
tr-
sleeves, and he's just like, I'm gonna beat your. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna fisticuffs.
and like there's one point where he stands up and he tries to get himself up by like grabbing the fender of a car, and then as he goes to grab it, the car's fender just bends and buckles under his hand and he just rips it off by accident.
Yeah, I think this is a good point for us to talk about the difference of what Moon Knight is in this versus the
Absolutely.
comics, because
Moon Knight has powers
yeah, so
now.
modern Moon Knight does technically have powers. Because okay, short history on Moon Knight. He used to just be a crazy guy and had a fake,
Dude.
yeah, just a fake god. Stephen Grant was his persona to get money so he could do the Moon Knight things as Mark. But he was just, honestly, he was just like, I hate when people say this, but he is just Marvel's Batman. Like, he has the money
Yeah.
surplus. He fights people at night. He fights crime in the name of justice and vengeance. And he doesn't pull his punches.
No.
But he was just a powerless guy. Modern comics have made it like Khonshu's real. He's an actual Egyptian god. He revived Mark, and now he has the powers of the moon, which means depending on the phase of the moon, the more of the moon that shows in the sky, man, it is hard to breathe with my freaking nose plugged in completely. God, I'm gonna die. I need to breathe. The more of the moon that's showing in the night sky, the more power he has. So during a full moon, Mark is actually the most powerful version of himself that he can have. In the comics, there's this thing called the supermoon, which Moon Knight gains like superhuman, crazy, powerful. He could fight the Avengers one-on-one, like crazy things. He also has the ability to like steal powers away from the Avengers, which is a totally different thing.
Wait, do you know what run that's in? Can you like can you like help me find that? Because now I
Oh,
need to
yeah,
read that.
so
I haven't.
So anybody who
Last time I read a Moon Knight run, it was the run where Mr. Knight debuted.
yeah, so modern Moon Knight, the current run is actually really good, but it's the fallout from an event that happened in the Avengers books. So we'll get back to comparing him in a second, but the run that I'm talking about is so Khonshu. At this point, I don't think Moon Knight was really doing much in the comics. Like he was doing like the normal like beating people up, but he wasn't doing anything crazy. Well, Khonshu in this run, Khonshu's like, I had this vision that Mephisto took over the earth, and then Mark's just like, okay, have been having the same vision as you. We need to stop him. So Khonshu's just like, all right, I need you to gather the power of like all the Avengers. So when I have the power of all the Avengers, we can defeat Mephisto. Like me plus all other powers, I'll be able to kill Mephisto, right? So essentially what happens is Khonshu orders Mark during this special time, which is during like a supermoon, which apparently Moon Knight gains extra power and is like super powerful, more powerful than he usually is during a full moon, and like gains like incredible durability, speed feats, and like all kinds of stuff, right? He like goes like Super Saiyan. Well,
Huh.
he goes and fights all the like Avengers and Avengers esque allies, and he steals their powers, and then he gives the powers to Khonshu, and then Khonshu's just like, okay, good, and then he takes over the world, and he's just like, I will be the justice the world needs. He goes to Mephisto, kills Mephisto. This is also the Notorious run where we see that it's explained that Mjolnir, it has a very complicated comic book backstory also, especially currently. I don't even want to talk about what's happening in Thor comics right now. We're explained that Thor's hammer is made of Uru, right? Space metal, right? Well, it's explained to us that Uru is actually from the first moon ever created in the solar system. So, it's made of moon rock. So, during a
No.
supermoon, Moon Knight can
No.
control Mjolnir with his mind. So, Thor throws Mjolnir at him, and then he kind of like holds up his hand, and Moon Knight's just like, you know what Uru is? Moon rock. So he's not worthy, but he can manipulate it, just like how Magneto can kind of manipulate Mjolnir. So he beats Thor up with Mjolnir. He gives Mjolnir to Khonshu, who can wield it. Maybe because he's a moon god, I'm not sure. But he gives all these powers, like the powers of different Avengers, to Khonshu. Khonshu goes and kills Mephisto. He's sitting on his throne, and he's just like, I need you to get the rest of the Avengers' powers because the rest of the Avengers are going to stop me, and if they stop me, then big threats like Mephisto are going to come again. Well, halfway through this, Marx is just like, Khonshu's being a real mean guy to me, so I'm going to turn against him. So, all in all, what happens at the end of the run, I don't want to spoil the big stuff just because I feel like you want to read it, but at the end, Khonshu
This hasn't been the big stuff.
well, the in between stuff, like the different fights, seeing whose powers,
Yeah. Okay.
And something else that happens later on, which is really cool. I'll just let you read. But Moon Knight allies himself with the Avengers at the last moment. Thor beats the crap out of Khonshu, and he's just like, "Give me my hammer." Khonshu gets arrested and is placed in a holding cell in Wakanda. Mark
Khonshu in handcuffs.
um, vibranium is now moon rock, so he's safe. So the fallout of this is that Mark has committed crimes, but he was also he was under the influence of Khonshu, right? So
Yeah.
the Avengers give him like this ultimatum where he's just like, we know you didn't do this, but you still have to hold some type of responsibility to it. We'll let you be Moon Knight, but we want you to seek counseling and therapy. So that's where his run picks up currently. And Mark has the Midnight Mission going on. He has some people working with him. He gets visited by some old Avengers friends that he had on the West Coast. And he has to go to therapy. A large chunk of his current run is him at therapy with his therapist, and it is such an amazing, like, if people, if the I'm glad that this run started so like quickly before the announcement happened, because if people want to learn about Moon Knight, this is definitely a good jumping on point at issue 1 of the current 2021 run of Moon Knight.
That
Because,
became very wholesome at the end. They were just like, go get help, man.
well, he kind of did
Okay.
some crazy things, and like
That's
maybe
fair.
embodied a cosmic entity and tried to kill Khonshu himself. Uh, but uh, it's definitely an interesting thing. It's Jason Aaron's currently writing. I think it's Jason Aaron is currently running the Avengers books. He's been doing it for like 4 years now. I gotta recheck a tweet that I made about it, because I definitely was talking about it. Uh, Aaron. Yeah, Jason Aaron is currently doing the run. Has been writing the Avengers run since like 2018. So like he's been writing it for so long, because if like comic book writers, they usually go for like a story arc, or like a story arc or two, like a year or two on a comic run, and then they leave, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're Jonathan Hickman, and then you take like then you take like 2 years on one book, 2 years on another book, and it's all like one story. Love Jonathan Hickman, but uh, I love this current run of Moon Knight, because like he's humanized. My favorite part about Moon Knight isn't like his costume is cool and everything like that, but like the human element of Moon Knight is definitely the part that captures me and makes me so involved with this character. Um, but back to the original thing that we were talking about. Um, Moon Knight in the comics, now he has moon powers, but like they're not really like, he can't like do crazy things. Like his suit's still a suit. He doesn't transform or anything like that. And like he still just uses like weapons that he's bought the material and manufactured himself. Um,
Mhm.
he's definitely not this magical warrior of an ancient moon god that can summon a suit and has like unlimited moon daggers in his chest, like how the Disney Plus show is depicting him. This is like, honestly, I feel like this is what Ultimate Moon Knight should have been in the Ultimate Universe. Like a total 180 of what the character is, because traditionally Moon Knight isn't. He's just a normal guy. Like this is a very hot take on him.
I very my only real interactions that I've had with Moon Knight prior to like reading the Mr. Knight run, um, and uh, and seeing him when he was didn't he like take up the role as Ronin at one point and like beat the crap out of Spider-Man for Kingpin?
Possibly.
I think that might have been the Ultimates run.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that was a very very violent time in Marvel Comics.
Everybody in the Ultimate
Um,
Comics was either like incestual, cannibal, or much darker than what they usually were.
Yeah. But prior to that, my only interaction with Moon Knight had been him inside of his like appearances inside of the oh what were those the Marvel Hero Alliance games or whatever?
Oh, Ultimate Alliance games?
Ultimate Alliance games.
Yeah.
They had some comic panels in there too, showing off him when he had the the DID of Captain America, Wolverine, and Spider-Man.
That is the worst run of Moon Knight. If you want to read Moon Knight and you actually want to know about like his mental health issues and everything like that, don't read that run, because it takes the already established multiple personalities of Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and Jake Lockley, which I want to talk about Jake when we get towards the end of this episode, and mashes them together and tries to make it like that he doesn't have multiple personalities. He's just crazy, and he thinks that like he's talking to other superheroes. That was actually my first exposure to Moon Knight before I started reading Moon Knight comics, and it really alienated me because when I first started reading, I was just like, "But why isn't he talking to Spider-Man? Who's Steven? Who's this? Where's Peter? Like, where's Cap?" Which, on one hand, saying that Moon Knight is a combination between Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Captain America isn't totally wrong. It's just, I feel like it's an insult to the character to like say these personalities are supposed to be what he is. Like he doesn't actually have DID. He's just he thinks that he's these characters. Which in that run he also like he has like a fake shield of Captain America's. He has web shooters and like extendable claws like those heroes do.
So
But yeah, no. I definitely think this take of Moon Knight's interesting. But if you finish the rest of this episode, and then we can talk some more about some other things.
yeah. Well, Mark gets a really good swing in on the Jackal. And then proceeds to get his butt kicked by the Jackal for a bit. And Mark finally convinces him to be able to have Mark take control to both save him and Layla, who is now being pinned by the Jackal, I believe.
Yeah, it's hot.
And then we finally get to see the suit in its full. The proper suit. We got to kind of see it in the first episode. This time it's out. It's in broad daylight. I don't know if it might just be like kind of a downside of having an all-white costume, you know. I don't know if you had similar thoughts, but when I saw that suit in the like broad daylight, at times it felt sort of like the suit was CGI, even though it was definitely not made of CGI.
I definitely think parts of it probably are, like in certain angles or like in certain shots. I definitely think it's very like a majority of the suit is definitely some After Effects in some form.
Probably. But it looks fantastic. And Mark just starts beating the crap out of the Jackal. And they start running across the rooftops in a really well shot action sequence. Every single action sequence in the show so far has been spot on perfect.
Yeah, and then after he beats up the Jackal, we see that Haro gets the Scarab from like this homeless guy or something, sucks the life out of him without even passing judgment on him. So fake God right there. And then Layla watches this entire thing and doesn't stop him, by the way. And then he sees Layla, and then she drives away. And then after that, Mark goes into like this square, which he goes into the square. We missed the best scene. We didn't talk about this when he's talking to Haro, and Steven's just like, he sees like Khonshu in the background. He's just like, Mark, or he's just like, Steven, do you see him? And then in the back there's Khonshu with like his cape flowing in the wind. Like it's just a quick transition and you see Khonshu. He's just like, what is he telling you? And he's just like, kill him. And he's just like, is he telling you to kill me? And then it snaps back to Khonshu. He's just like, snap his neck. And that initially, like when I heard Khonshu's voice, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't take it. Like I wanted it to be like this more godly thing, but those scenes have solidified this Khonshu in this live action portrayal to be probably, if he keeps this up, he's probably gonna be my favorite part of the MCU going forward.
Yeah. Oh my God. I haven't even thought about the implications that we might get Moon Knight in actual movies now.
Yeah.
I hope that like Mark doesn't die somehow. I really hope that this isn't just Moon Knight just showing up for only 6 episodes and disappearing.
Yeah.
Um
But the end of this episode, we see that Steven is fighting control with Mark. Mark doesn't want to give up the body. He's just like, no, it's my body now. Uh, and then they have this like crazy scene where he's like destroying the glass so he doesn't have to see Steven anymore. And then we are then we then see him, Mark talking to Khonshu, and Mark also tells Steven that if he doesn't complete the mission that Khonshu wants him to do, he'll take Layla away. Because Layla is apparently Khonshu's next possible candidate for being Moon Knight, or to be his avatar, and that's not what Mark wants. He wants to protect Layla at all costs. Which even Haro had even said that Khonshu makes false promises. Like he'll tell you this is the last mission, but it's not really the last mission. He'll reel you in and like use you, which is very true from what we see so far, because he's very manipulative. Khonshu is even said to Mark like, "This isn't your body. I revived you. This is my body. You'll do as I say," type of stuff. Which we see that these parts of Khonshu from the comics, where he's uh, a manipulative part of Mark's life, is really poking out. Like, Khonshu is not a good guy. Like,
No.
he has his moments, but he's definitely not a good guy for what he does to Mark. They have some people liken it to like an abusive father relationship that they have. And the end of this episode has Stephen wake up in a bed in Cairo, Egypt. Actually, I think it's supposed to be Mark waking up in a bed on a bed in Cairo, Egypt, drinking, and it opens and we see the city that he is in, and that is the end. And episode 3, we can anticipate that stuff is gonna start rolling because they're in Cairo, and that is apparently where Ahmet's tomb is, because that is the only plot line we have currently, is that they're looking for Ahmet's tomb.
all of the themes of Egyptian mythology I've loved.
Yeah,
throughout this whole
the
thing,
music is awesome. Like
music's on point. This whole show just feels so good. I'm really interested to see if we see any more vessels for any of the other Egyptian gods. It'd be interesting to like just keep introducing them,
yeah,
or find some kind of connection or common ground to like any of the other mythos characters there are inside of the MCU.
yeah. I I give a I definitely think this episode is like as close to a 5 as I can get it. I'd probably, if I gave the first episode a 4.8, this would probably have to be like a 4.95 out of 5. It doesn't get a perfect because there are certain things that, that hold it back. I don't see it as like a perfect episode so far, just because like we still have the whole series to look at as a whole. But really strong episode. Really strong episode. I really liked it. But as a whole so far, this series is very promising. I can't wait to see what there is for the future of it, and I'm just excited. I really like Moon Knight. What they're doing so far with him is pretty great. I hope he gets established into the greater MCU as like somewhat of like a I want to put him as like a street level to like probably like higher than that. Like everybody fought in Infinity War, street level characters or not. So I definitely think he'll be more important just because of his ties with Khonshu and like him actually having powers. Um, but yeah, those are all my opinions. I want to hear what you think.
I I think that we've got a really good show here. I'm
It's leaving you speechless.
it yeah, sorry. I got a weird text there.
You're okay.
I've always seen Moon Knight as a goofy character. I've never really um enjoyed it when he's been serious. And to be able to take him uh into this kind of series where they perfectly mix how goofy he is and the stuff around him with this uh Batman level of like violence and do it so well is amazing to me.
Yeah, one of Moon Knight's most famous quotes that he has is he's like, "I'm not Spider-Man." He's like, "I don't care what happens to any of you guys. Like, you're all just punching bags to me." Like, he likens himself to like not the Punisher and not Spider-Man, which I feel like is a perfect description of what Moon Knight is. Um, but yeah,
There's this great panel where um where Spider-Man is talking to Moon Knight. And Moon Knight had previously like dressed up as Spider-Man and just impersonated him. Um
as he does. Yeah.
because that was his personality for the moment. He was Spider-Man. Um and Spider-Man's like, "Did you dress up as me and like beat up strippers?" And Moon Knight was like, I was doing research or something like that. And Spider was like, "Research that required beating up strippers is me?" And he's like, "Shut up."
That's great.
I He's just a grumpy guy who does whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah, I I have high hopes for the series. I hope that whatever whatever cash or whatever thing that Marvel wants to get out of it, they get out of it without bad things happening to the character per se. Like, I don't want them to deprecate the character for the cash grab, or I don't want them to see its worth only as what we have so far.
Mhm.
And I just have high hopes that he is used in the greater MCU because he, like, if we can have like, Spider-Man, he's like the most famous, like one of the most famous superheroes, Marvel's most famous superhero that they have, undebatably, because people know about Spider-Man and people don't read comics. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's he's such a fun character, and I can only hope that they can pull out all the sides of him, both violent, funny, and the very serious moments with him dealing with stress and his DID and everything. Uh, but yeah, I have nothing else really to say on it. We'll be talking more about it next time we do the pod. Um, yeah, if you just have some ending thoughts.
I'm I'm excited to record the next episode of this because at that point 4 episodes should be out.
Yeah.
And we'll probably be able to have some kind of better idea of how this is going to shape out and end at that
Yeah,
point.
definitely.
Um, it's good. It feels good to have a show to look forward to every single week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They've definitely been better about this because whether it's Star Wars or Marvel, Disney has definitely been filling out these gaps that they have with content.
yes,
But um yeah, if you don't have anything else to say, I mean, this episode probably has been our longest one so far. Um,
probably.
we had a lot of news, and we've been talking about this for over an hour, talking about these two episodes for over an hour. Um, but yeah, I haven't told Vincent this, but for the first three episodes, we haven't had any art or anything like that. Um, we
Oh
both
my god.
we both have lives. Vincent is an artist himself, which hopefully will he'll have some art for us up sometime in the near future. He's a busy boy with a life. But I did have some art commissioned for us, and my art guy actually just DM'd me on Twitter this afternoon, and he actually sent me the rough for the banner, and hopefully by the time this is uploaded, he'll have the entire thing done, and we'll have it on the YouTube and on the Twitter, and it'll also be in our outro for the episodes forthcoming. I will send you a DM with what he has as the rough sketch so far, but I really love it. But we don't really have anything else left. This is gonna end today's episode. If you want to link up with us, tweet at us, talk to us in any shape or form, you can leave a comment. Like and subscribe, by the way. Hit the notification bell to get the newest videos in your feed, get that algorithm going. But follow us on Twitter. I am at lying_mask.
I'm at Vincent Barlow 8.
And you can tweet at us at domesticbfpod on Twitter. Yeah, guys, we will see you next time.
Bye, beautiful people.